to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong. In the meantime, discussions are ongoing. Regime change was not our goal. We never said regime change, but regime change has occurred.
Operation Silence was one of the most precise and carefully planned special operations of the entire Battle of Hormuz. A small team of United States Marines was given a single mission: find the IRGC commander who had been directing the mine attacks on the Strait of Hormuz, capture him alive, and bring him back, before Iranian forces even knew what had happened. No Navy SEALs. No Delta Force. This was a Marine operation from start to finish. To understand why this mission mattered so much, you have to understand what was happening in the strait at the time. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most important waterways in the entire world. Nearly 1/3 of all the oil shipped by sea passes through it every single day. When the strait is blocked, the whole world feels it. At the fuel pump, in factories, in the cost of everyday goods. In the weeks before Operation Silence, Iranian forces had been quietly laying naval mines across key shipping lanes inside the strait. The attacks were not random. They were carefully planned and expertly executed. One tanker after another was struck. Some took on water and nearly sank. Others limped into port with serious hull damage. Within days, shipping companies started pulling their vessels out of the region. Insurance companies stopped offering coverage. Oil prices surged. Emergency meetings were being held by governments around the world. American and Allied naval forces responded quickly. Minesweeper ships were sent in. Patrol aircraft flew constant missions overhead. But the man giving the orders, the IRGC commander sitting safely in a fortified compound deep in the Iranian highlands, was still free. Still planning. Still communicating with his forces in the strait below. As long as he was out there, the attacks would continue. Intelligence teams had been tracking this commander for a long time. He was not a typical military officer. He was a specialist in asymmetric warfare, meaning he knew exactly how to cause maximum damage using small, unconventional methods against a much stronger enemy. He had designed the entire mine campaign from that mountain compound, adjusting his tactics every time Allied forces tried to counter him. He was the brain behind the operation. Remove him, and the whole campaign would fall apart. The decision was made. The mission was approved. And it was handed to the Marines. On the night of the operation, the assault team gathered inside a large briefing tent at their forward base. Colonel Marcus Webb stood before a detailed digital map covering an entire wall. Every ridge, valley, road, and known guard position around the target compound was marked clearly. Colonel Webb walked them through the plan step by step. He pointed out the safest routes through the highland terrain. He explained the guard rotation schedule that intelligence teams had carefully mapped. He described the layout of the compound, the fence line, the corridors, the communication bunker, and the location of the commander's quarters. He pointed to the landing zone, a small clearing about 2 kilometers from the compound, far enough to avoid detection, but close enough to reach quickly on foot. The sequence was simple. Silent approach. Perimeter breach. Clear rooms. Secure the target. Extract. When the briefing ended, the room went quiet as the weight of the mission settled over every man in it. After the briefing, the team moved straight into preparation. Every piece of equipment was checked, then checked again. Rifles were fitted with suppressors. Magazines were loaded with subsonic rounds that make far less noise than standard ammunition. Snipers verified their calculations for the highland terrain. Night vision devices were tested in full darkness. Encrypted radios and backup satellite systems were confirmed. Medical kits were inspected and staged. By the time the team walked toward the flight line, they were fully ready. The MV-22B Osprey aircraft were already running on the tarmac. The Osprey takes off vertically like a helicopter, then tilts its rotors forward and flies like a propeller aircraft at much higher speeds. This makes it perfect for long-range covert missions. The Marines boarded, secured their gear, and strapped in. The aircraft lifted off into the night sky and accelerated toward Iranian airspace. The pilots flew low, using the natural shape of the terrain to stay below radar coverage. As the target area came into range, the aircraft slowed and descended quietly toward the clearing in the highlands. The landing was smooth and fast. The Marines moved out into the darkness without a single word spoken. The Ospreys lifted off immediately and climbed away to a holding orbit, waiting for the extraction call. The 2-kilometer approach to the compound was slow and careful. Every step was placed deliberately on the rocky terrain. The Marines moved in formation, using natural shadows and cover, scanning constantly through their night vision devices. As they neared the compound, perimeter guards were spotted exactly where the intelligence had indicated. The guard rotation window opened exactly on schedule. The guards were quietly neutralized. No alarms were triggered. The outer fence was cut using compact specialized tools. The team slipped through and entered the compound. Inside, the Marines cleared each room and corridor with practiced efficiency. The communication bunker was located and its equipment disabled before any signal could be sent out. When the assault element reached the commander's quarters, they found him there. He offered no resistance. Restraints were applied, and a hood was placed over his head. He was secured between 2 Marines who would control his movement all the way back to the landing zone. The entire raid was completed faster than even the best-case estimate in the mission plan. The withdrawal was the most dangerous part. The team moved steadily back through the terrain, maintaining security in all directions while keeping the detainee under control. At the landing zone, infrared strobes were activated, invisible to the naked eye but burning clearly in the night vision of the waiting pilots above. The Ospreys descended immediately, ramps already lowering on approach. The Marines sprinted aboard with the commander secured. The last man stepped on. The ramp came up. The aircraft climbed hard into the night and turned for home. Back at the forward base, Colonel Webb received confirmation that the mission was complete. The commander was transferred to secure custody. Intelligence teams moved in immediately to begin working through everything he carried. The mine campaign would not stop overnight, but its directing mind was now in American hands. Without his constant guidance, the operation would lose its precision and effectiveness. On the operations center display, a single tanker track was moving, slowly, under naval escort, toward open water. The first commercial ship to transit in nearly 2 weeks. Operation Silence had not ended the Battle of Hormuz. Larger operations were still being planned. But this one raid had demonstrated something important, that no position is truly safe for those who threaten the free flow of the world's most critical waterway. The Marines had reached into the mountains and removed the problem at its source. Quietly, precisely, completely. The team returned to base without celebration. The mission had been given. The mission had been done. The waters of Hormuz were beginning to open once more,